For this week's assignment, we are going to be looking at content marketing. Content marketing is the idea that in today's social media realm, people come to your brand looking for answers to questions that they have. Okay, so your job is to be there for them when those questions come. At the same time, you need to develop content that's going to draw them to your site. It all depends on what their relationship, the customer's relationship to your business. Some of that you can understand by the readings this week. In particular, the Marketo book, it talks about the different life stages of the buyer. You know, the people that don't know they need something yet, the people that they know what they need. They're not sure which product to buy, all the way through after they bought the product. What sort of questions that might they have that you need to answer? So that's basically what content marketing is about. If you remember in the second week when you were working on your strategies, I talked about some different appeals that you could use as a way to focus your strategy. For example, if your strategy to get people to donate was to be logical or emotional or that kind of thing. One of the readings in this week, I have it both under the Unit 3 page, and I also have it included with the content marketing assignment. It talks about 5 types of marketing appeal. And so this is a good place before you begin to think about what kind of content you're going to create is sort of what's the approach. Now, I do also want to sort of explain that content marketing is an overall program. It's not a one-time deal. You would sit down at wherever you work and discuss what is the content focus, what's the objective and the status. You have goals and strategies and objectives for content, just like you do for your product or your business. Okay. Now, when you have individual campaigns that are really focused, like our Feed the Baby one for Pomojo Leo, you can also then make sure that the content marketing for that is focused exactly on what it is that you want. So you have a large picture marketing plan, and then you have individual content plans for the different campaigns that you're doing. Okay, so let's just focus on our Feed the Babies campaign for Pomojo Leo. Okay, think about the strategy that you decided to use. And this reading here, again, there's 5 different types of marketing appeals that you can go for. The emotional appeal, so what would get people to donate money is to show people the need, show, the crying babies, if you will. I always think of Sarah McLachlan and the sad dogs and cats and things like that. Okay, so there's the emotional appeal. The fear appeal we talked about, it's really more for health, but in this case, if there is a fear of children being forgotten or left behind, so there could be some fear appeal in this campaign. It's probably more an emotional fear as opposed to people fearing for their own lives, but fearing for the lives of these children and their families could be an appeal that you look at. Okay. Humor appeal is probably not going to work as well here. Okay. Although if you remember, there was sort of a meme, but it could be a campaign a while back about first world problems where they had young people in third countries, talking about my cell phone wasn't charged and I didn't know what to do with myself, that kind of stuff. So there is a humor appeal that can be used, but in that case, it was sort of a dark humor. I can't imagine that you would use it for this, but humor works really great, particularly for products that people, don't don't absolutely have to need or want. Or even if they do need it, like toilet paper. One of the best ways to sell toilet paper is a humor appeal because, people need it. You don't have to explain it why we need it. And so how do we make it a little more appealing to people? It's not a fun topic to talk about. So humor appeal works for something like that. Logical, this works really great when you're trying to get money and raise funds for some people. Because some people will give emotionally, but some people see it as, it's like I mentioned before, it's, more efficient use of money to do it this way. I can use it as a tax write-off, whatever the case may be, but logically show them why they should give. This also works obviously in selling products too, selling cars, take a logical approach. Some people buy on emotion, like Jeep. I have a Jeep and you buy on emotion, but there's also logical, like, fuel economy, cost of the car, all those kinds of things. So that's a logical appeal. And then the bandwagon appeal. This could be useful in our campaign in the sense of, everyone else is donating. You should do it. Okay. Now, just the opposite, it's not listed here, but bandwagon appeal makes me think of it. I just recently read an article where charitable donations are down in the US, primarily because the change in tax refunds and deductions. Used to, you could itemize and take your deduction, your charitable contributions out when you were figuring your taxes, but they upped something else, and so they kind of took out that charitable donations section, and so that's kind of going down. So instead of a bandwagon appeal, it could be like everybody's leaving us, so we really need you more than ever. But that's not really listed there, but it's maybe an emotional opposite of the bandwagon appeal. So anyway, it's a really good piece there. So again, make sure that you're really focused about what was your strategy for getting people to do whatever objective you came up with. Okay. So then for this assignment, what you're going to do is your campaign plan part 3. What you're going to do is you're going to read these things. This SEO is very important because you're required to do a description and keywords and stuff like that. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to write a blog post, okay, that would be included on your, for your campaign. It's a blog post that just one blog post that talks about your strategy and your product, raising money. Now, here's the key for content marketing, though. It's not about writing a sales pitch, okay? You don't want to write a blog post that says, please give us money. What you want to do is write a blog post that is emotional or logical or whatever, to the sense that people then feel the need to give, okay? It's, there's 80% social, 20% selling. You're going to hear that in your readings and everything, 80% social, 20% selling. So the focus of your blog post should not be, please give us money. It should be, Maria separated from her family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You do want somewhere in there towards the end, and here's how you can help, and a link to Pomodilio. You obviously want to mention Pomodilio throughout the piece, that she's living there, whatever the case may be. But it's not about selling. It's about giving them content that then makes them want to do it. Well, that kind of makes sense. I'll show you some examples here in a minute. Okay. So now you can either write a blog post, which is what the majority of people do, or you can create an infographic. And I'm going to show you this in an example. However, if you do the infographic, you do need to make sure that you look at SEO guidelines for infographics. If you're not familiar with SEO, it's search engine optimization. It's tools that we use, either the words that we insert or whatever, that helps the Google algorithm or any other search engine, but most people use Google. It helps that formula to decide what shows up at the top of your search list when you're searching for things. So for example, if I'm searching on how can I help international children, I would want Pomodilio's articles and blog posts and all that kind of stuff. I would want those to be at the top of the Google list. So if you write your blog post and you create keywords that are targeted to helping international kids or whatever the case may be, when I search for that, it's going to show up at the top of the Google list. And that's where we want to be. We never want to be on the second page. You've got to at least be on the first page. Okay? So anyways, you can write a blog post or an infographic. Again, watch this SEO for WordPress for if you write a blog post, because it'll help you to figure out, that you have to write 300 words or whatever. You have to write 300 words for your blog post, okay, because that's included in an SEO thing. You have to include keywords, a headline, and a description, okay? And then you have to write 2 social media posts for that blog post. That means, for example, a Facebook post and a Twitter post that are directly related to that. So let's say that I'm doing the story on Maria, who lives at Pomodilio and is looking for her family, okay? She has an aunt and they're trying to find her. So you've done this testimony, this feature story on her. Then I write this post. Then my social media post is going to be something like, helping children sometimes means finding their family or something like that. That's pretty bad. But anyway, and that's my Facebook post. And I have a picture of Maria, and I have sometimes finding family is the most important thing. And then I have a link to the blog post. Now, these blog posts are not being published, so you're just going to have a fake link. If you're familiar with Bitly, B-I-T-L-Y, bitly.com, you could simply put bit.ly.com and I'll know that you're going to have a link to your blog post. Okay, so this isn't about just a social media post about Pomodoro. It's directly related to the blog post because it's sort of like advertising, getting people to that blog post. Okay, you need to do having 2 different kinds of social media. Okay, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you decide. It doesn't have to be Facebook. It can be whatever you decide are the 2 best social media channels for your campaign. Okay, you need to create and be sure and have photos if you can. Okay, then you need to create visual examples. Okay, and at the bottom of this, I'm going to show you. I've linked a couple of social media simulators. So I want you to actually create the post and do a screenshot so it looks as much as possible like what it would look if you put it up on social media. Okay, and again, include in there ways to monitor like hashtags and stuff like that. Okay, then I also, as part of this, want you to create a calendar for at least a month that has other content ideas. You don't have to develop them or anything like that, just a bunch of what's some different content that you have at least one post idea for each day. Okay, now that's going to include your own blog post and those other 2 social media posts. You're going to continue to blog that. But what are some other ideas related to your strategy, remember, and to your specific objectives and strategies? What are some other posts that you could suggest throughout the week? Okay. Now notice here at the bottom of this content assignment, there's that Facebook status simulator. So you can go in here and you can create a fake Facebook post. They also have Twitter. Okay. Anywho, so, and then you can just take a screenshot of that and put it in your Word document to turn in. Okay. I also have an Instagram. Feel free to make your own, or you can simply write them, but try to make them look as much as possible like you would see on social media. Okay, now I want to take a look at some of the other information that we have here. This is also another good piece on how to write a blog post because it has some different templates, although you can just read them down here. This has some different kinds of blog posts that you can write. The how-to, creating a list. Curated collection. Curated is when you go out and you find other articles that are out there related to what you're trying to do, and then you discuss them and link to them in your piece. So it's sort of gathering a bunch of information and sharing it with your readers. Okay, be sure to link directly to those pieces and give them credit. You don't want to be stealing information. Slide share. Newsjacking is when you take current events and you write them in such a way that they help out with their campaign. So, for example, the decrease in charitable donations article that I was talking about. You find an article like that and you use it and then discuss how, write a blog post about helping your company or whatever the case may be. Okay, so there's tons of different ones out there. Sorry, if you go to the readings here, I get 12 types of blog posts. That's another good one there. Down here, how-tos and tutorials. How to use PayPal or how to use, how to look up the charities. There's all kinds of different things that you can do on the how-tos. A list of things where their money will go, a list of things they need, a list of programs they offer. Okay. Now, again, you want to be careful that you don't write it like you're trying to sell Pomodoro to somebody. You want to write it as like, what are the top 10 things that international children need, or whatever the case may be. You do want to work Pomodoro in there, but it shouldn't just be a selling piece. Resources or link lists, checklists, to-dos. Some of these work better for brands and stuff like that. Reviews. Okay, you could talk this, and we say reviews because we're talking about products, but you could talk to other people who have donated. We talk a lot about interviews with the kids that live there, the parents, and the workers. Don't forget to interview other donors because that will also be good too. So you could talk, what the donors say about their thing. Controversial posts, probably not something we want to use for Pomodoro, but sometimes it works. I had one time I had a GameStop as a client for some people in class, and I figured if anybody was good for controversial kind of posts, it would be gamers. And so they wrote some posts about, like why this game was really bad or something like that. And they wrote it really edgy. So infographics are also very, very good, and they're very, very popular because people are really into visual data. Okay. Podcasts we're not doing. But anyway, there's like 25 different things here. Now, when it talks about interviews, you could think of this as our testimonials, if you will. So interviewing people that have some sort of relationship with Pomojoleo, whether it's people who've been helped, people who are donors, people who are volunteers, whatever the case may be. So there's just tons of types of blog posts that you can take a look at. Also, I've included on the campaign assignment blog a couple examples. Okay, so this is one that Grace Niemeyer wrote for a past class, if you know Grace. And I really like it. It's a great way to show you an example. Okay, so notice that she was writing, her client was her hometown marching band support club. Okay, it was like a supporters club. And they were trying to organize and get donations and volunteers and stuff like that. So she wrote a piece that would go on their blog post about how to prep for ever-changing weather for a marching band. Notice it doesn't say anything about join the Norse Band Boosters, here's how to join, anything like that. It was an article that would be useful to people in that. Here's a meta description and keywords. You'll learn more about those when you watch that SEO. Okay. And notice how she does incorporate the name of her client in there, but it's not necessarily about her client. This is what I'm looking for in your content. Okay. Notice too that you can do lists and stuff like that. Think of, oh gosh, I just forgot the name of the people that make the lists, but that became sort of a style. But anyway, so it's top 7 reasons and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so you write your blog post, and notice it doesn't have to be long. It does need to be at least, it needs to be at least 300 words for SEO. But okay, so there you have it. Then notice here she has a Facebook post about it. Okay, now she has 2 Facebook posts. It should be a Facebook and a different one. Let's see if she did a different one on her next one. Yeah, here, you don't want to use 2 Facebook posts. This is an old class and they had to write 2 blog posts because it was during the regular semester. So here's a Facebook post and here's a Twitter post, okay? Now, so I've given you a couple examples on here. Here's her second blog, was on 5 foods to pack for your child, okay? And then notice then the blog post, the first marching band comp is approaching fast. Check out these fast, easy snacks, okay, bit.ly.com. What's your go-to marching band competition snack? Get more ideas here. So see how they're directly related to that blog post. So use Grace's example here. You do this, you can't go wrong if you have, for yours. The other one then I wanted to show you was the infographic blog post that Megan Fricking did. I don't get a lot of these, and I can't imagine, you guys might not want to do this, but Megan did one there. Her client was Scooters, and she just did some information about where their beans come from. Their objective was to sell more beans, the packaged beans. Okay, it wasn't sell coffee or anything like that. It was to sell the beans, and so she had all of this information. And here were her keywords that she looked up, the post title, a meta description for that. Even if you don't have that, if that's not included in the blog post, you still have to have a meta description in order for Google to do a better job. So this can be placed in WordPress's meta description area. And then she has a blog post here from Facebook. And then here's another one that she did down here. And I think she got some points off because she only did Facebook. So you want to do one of each. Okay, but there's an example of an infographic. In the past, I've had videos, but there's just really no way you can get a video done, I don't think, and make a quality video in the week that we have. So take a look at that campaign plan part 3 content. There's lots of stuff there to kind of pay attention to, so make sure that you do all that and pay attention to that. Again, those are the examples. So I have it there, the assignment. It's on the home page under the client project, so down there, okay? And it's also connected here in Unit 3. Okay, so before I end up here, I want to also talk to you about some other content examples. Okay, one of my favorite content marketing examples that I like to show in class is REI. How many of you are familiar with REI? It's an outdoor products company. And it's not, if you go to REI, you're not going to see it on their front page, but up here at the top it says Co-op Journal. Most of the times, the blog posts are not the first thing you see on a website, because the first thing you're going to see on the website are what they're trying to sell. Okay. Usually the blog is hidden somewhere inside the website or further in the website. And people are brought there through these blog posts and through social media posts, okay, primarily social media posts. So when you type that Facebook post and you've got that link, it takes them to this page that you've created in your blog. Okay, it's not usually the front page. Now, if you're writing, say you're working for a brand, for a clothing company, and you write a story about how to dress for a party, then, and you talk about a product, you want to directly link to that product page. Okay, that landing page is important. A landing page is what page do they land on when they click on your link. So if you're talking about a specific product, if I were writing a blog post for REI and I wanted to talk about, how to stay warm, and I had information about a particular kind of sleeping bag, then I'd want to make sure that I go right to that landing page. However, notice, for example, here's a little testimonial. They also, here, they're taking advantage, it's Pride Month. Okay, so here's LGBTQ plus adventures in their own words. So they've done a little blog post and they have all of these different people and they've interviewed all these different people. Okay, so notice this has really nothing to do with REI itself. It's about adventurers and a community. So REI is trying to create this community for their website. Okay. Another one that's pretty good at branding, content marketing, I should say, is Dove. Dove does a great job of going beyond just trying to sell their soap. And this, in fact, actually is the first thing you see when you come to their website, primarily because most of us do not buy soap off the internet. I mean, we just go to Walmart or someplace like that, unless we're buying specific soap that's hard to find or something like that. So they use this space to talk about their products, certainly talk about them, but they explore, and they've really started this in the last few years, about Dove's place in your life. And so this is one of their most recent campaigns. It's called Show Us, More Women Who Look Like Me. And so they have this project called Show Us. And then they just have some blog posts about, 70% of women still don't feel represented. And then they have these little testimonials and videos. They have Dove stories, okay, Dove campaigns. So just some of the different things that, remember the Girl Collective? They did the videos on like Throw Like a Girl and all that kind of stuff. So they've sort of found their content marketing objective and goals. And so all of their content is directly related to that. It tends to be mostly women, and it tends to be a lot about self-esteem. And they found some real success for that. Another one that does a good job with blogging and content marketing, there we go, content marketing, is Starbucks. Okay, so you'll notice that they have a lot of just interviews and testimonials and those kinds of things. Sometimes they're news releases, okay, and sometimes they're feature kind of stories. So it just kind of depends on what's going on for that. So those are some good ones. Now I did want to find a couple that were related to what we were doing. So, and again, if you want to look at these, just Google these different things. This is Refugees International. And actually what I did was I Googled like Refugees International blog posts or Children's International Organizations blog posts. Okay, so that's how I found some of these. So this is Refugees International. We don't have space for you all. Okay, and then this is the most recent, article. Talks about all of this kind of different, it's sort of a news feature, if you will. And then another one that's sort of related to ours, Global Fund for Children, Voices and Story Behind All the Numbers, Dollars Invested. It's what really matter, the children and communities we serve. This is probably going to be a very useful one for you to get ideas of what you might create for your own goal, your own content for Pomodoro. Okay, so lots of examples. I tell you what I'll do is I'll put these all in a list and I'll connect them here. How about if I just connect them down here off of the Unit 3 content page? I'll put it down here, a link to those different websites that I showed you. So your goal for today, just keep in mind that your goal for today is to, I don't have the examples on this page. I have the examples on this page. Basically, this is what I'm looking for. Download Grace's blog posts with social media posts and use that as your example. Okay. Going to have meta description keywords, then you're going to have the blog post, and then you're going to have two different social media posts. Again, down here she has two different ones. Okay, so please look over the assignment, those kinds of things. Let me know what, if you have any questions. I have one person sent me some questions earlier, so I sent them to Georgina. She's answered. I had a couple people over the weekend send me some questions, so I sent those off. If you go to answers from Georgina, you can see what she's replied to other people's questions. Okay, I think these are from Dallas. So anyway, take a look, read over everything. Be sure and see my email, because you'll notice that next week, some things this week and next week have changed. I moved the discussion to this week because next week is a short week. So I may need to get back with you tomorrow on some more things, but that's enough for today. Thanks.